Hey everyone, it's Anna here from Girls on Key. How are you going? This video today we're going to be talking about how to work with an editor. Now that can relate to whether you're doing poetry, creative writing, non-fiction or any other kind of writing. I'm an editor. I've been an editor for 15 years or more and I'm a poet. And so we're going to talk about today how to work with an editor. For those of you that don't know, Girls on Key is about creating and opportunities for women and non-binary poets. So you can find out more about us at www.girlsonkey.com. Check out all our socials in the links below. All right, let's get started. Hey, so today we're talking about how to work with an editor. Lots of people have different questions about that, and we're going to talk about different styles of editing and what editing actually is in a different video. But for now, we're going to talk about the relationship between you as a writer and your editor. So let's go through a couple of things that are important to remember when you're working with someone who's editing your work, your baby, because you've put a lot of effort and a lot of time and money and energy into your work. You want it to be the best and you want to get that relationship working for you. All right, so the first tip that I have is don't be afraid to disagree. Any relationship between a writer and an editor, if they're a good editor, it should be a conversation. Now, the first thing to remember is that it is your work. At the end of the day, you are the artist. The editor is there to serve your work, not the other way around. Now, obviously, there are certain guidelines and certain points that need to be met for particular publications, and so the editor has that in mind when they are editing your work, because it has to be a good fit for their particular audience. So there are some things that they might ask you to do that might go against what you want in terms of your own work, and sometimes that relationship can break down, and that might mean that your work might not end up being published. But don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to disagree, to ask questions, because your editor, if they're a good editor, they should not be afraid of that either. They should know that because you are the one who's created this work, that you are entitled to disagree. It's only one person's opinion. An editor is only one person with an opinion about your work. They don't have the final say on your work. They're only one person. So don't be afraid to work with an editor. We're not that scary, to be honest. Some may be, but I feel like if you are a scary editor, that goes against what you're trying to do, because if you're wanting to work with writers, you don't want them to be so scared of you that they can't actually have that conversation, because then they're not going to end up with the result that either of you want. Okay, so number 2, and we've talked about this in the last video, but know your own intentions, know your own work back to front, why you're writing it, what you're writing about, how you've come up with the work, what you've done to get to that point, how you got to your ideas. And make sure that you have edited your work thoroughly and gone through every step before you take it to your editor, before it gets to that point, because what you don't want to do is get to a point where they're asking you, what did you intend with that line? And you think, oh, actually, I just chucked it in there, I actually don't know. And that can be embarrassing. So what you want to do is really think about what did I want to achieve with that poem, and have I met it first before someone else then comes and says, well, this is our goal and we want to meet this goal. So that was tip number 2, know your own work and your own intentions. Number 3, present your best, put your best foot forward. So, for example, if you're sending a Word document or you're sending an audio clip to an editor, make sure that you've edited it, that you've checked it, that you've read it aloud. You've asked someone if you're not sure about some grammar or some point. Make sure that you've actually checked all of that stuff thoroughly before you send it to anyone else, because you're making an impression with someone who has the power to publish your work, to give you a platform. It's a privilege to be in that position and to have someone who is really giving you the time to invest in your work. So you really want to make sure that you put your absolute best foot forward. So whatever that means for you, whether it means having someone who has experience to check it for you, obviously proofreading, going through spell check, that's just an obvious thing. And also, again, when we talked about how to edit your poem in the last video, which I'll put a link, we want to know, have I achieved what I want to achieve to make it the best that it can be? Because you are the one who is in control of that, nobody else. And so it's just sloppy. If you're just sending off something that is not your best work, then I'd kind of question, well, why are you doing it? You know, what do you want out of it if you're not going to give it your best? You know, just a thought. And, you know, don't be offended by that. It's like, well, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't, if you just want to write it and you don't want to work with an editor, that's fine. But don't be offended if they then go, well, this line is just not working as an audience member when I read it. Something is jarring and it needs to be fixed. So number 4 is, it's tough. One of the things that I will say is that a lot of people are scared of working with editors. So before I get to number 4, I just want to say, don't be afraid. Coming back to number 1 again, because it can be scary when someone is picking apart your work. It can feel like a reflection on you as a person, particularly if your work is very personal or confessional or reflects who you are and your values. It can feel like a personal attack, and you can think, well, this person is attacking this work. I've spent 5 years working on this piece and someone wants to change something. And say, well, have a different attitude. Think, well, this is an opportunity for me to hear someone else's opinion as an audience member. Think of them as an extra pair of eyes or an audience member who's having a look at the work, and they're saying to you, they're giving feedback, which is super valuable, and they're saying, hang on a sec, this line, it's a dog, I'm sorry, but it really doesn't work. And of course they're not going to say it in those words, and I would never say it in those words as an editor, but I'm just saying, if you have a line that doesn't work, they're going to tell you, they're going to say, look, there's just something, if you just move this one word down to the bottom, it would have this effect. Do you want to try it? You know, and for me, I always pose questions as an editor. So I would say, what do you think if we tried this because of X? So I always give you a reason. I say, I think that this line could be stronger if it was just a little bit shorter so it didn't look so jagged on the page. Was that your intention? Do you want to have that jagged look? Is that part of your artistry? And so have a think about your artistry, like what are the intentions of your choices. And it comes back to, remember in the last video we talked about starts becoming art when it stops becoming arbitrary. So you really have to know why you've made those choices, because the editors are going to ask you, they know, they're going to ask the question, they're going to raise, and what I do is I raise flags. So I go through a work, a piece, a book, whatever it is, and I flag up anything that comes to my attention that doesn't look right or doesn't sound right, or I have a question about it and I think this sounds strange, or this is offensive, or this has a meaning that they might not have intended. So what I'm going to do is just flag it up, and then we go through each one and you say yes or no, and I do it as a checklist so that they say yes, that edit's fine, or no, I want to leave that as it is. You might want to use crazy punctuation, and the editor might be like, well, why haven't you got capitals there? Did you want to do that, or did you just not realize? So they're going to ask you what your intention is, so be clear about your intentions. I can't make that point strongly enough, because it's going to be embarrassing for you if you don't know. So really come back to that and think, well, it's my craft. At the end of the day, it's your craft. You have made the decisions, and if you're not being decisive, if you're just throwing anything down on the page, it's not gonna be a fun conversation to have with an editor when it comes time to ask the questions. And so you want to just maybe do your own edits as much as you can first. Maybe if you have someone who can help you with grammar and structure and style and things like that, and learn as much as you can about the craft before you even get to the point of working with an editor, because particularly with bigger publications and more professional publishers, there's a next level of kind of conversation that's going to happen. And if you've got ego about it and you think, well, this is exactly how I want it to be, and this is exactly what the intention was, and this is, just relax and just think, well, this is a chance for me to learn. If you're open to learning, you're going to improve, you're going to get better, and more people are going to want to see your work, more people are going to like it on YouTube, they're going to like it, you're going to win slams, you're going to get published, you're going to get more eyes on it, and that's what you want. At the end of the day, you want to keep on improving, and whatever your goal is, whether you want to sell your zines or become famous on YouTube, whatever your goal is, if you are intentional about those things, then your work will improve, and it will continue to improve, and you'll be able to work with editors who are there to serve and help you. You are the artist, so remember that. So the last point is number 5, you decide. At the end of the day, when someone sends you the list of edits, they will give their reasons why. If they don't, maybe ask them and say, why do I have to change that punctuation? What is your reason for wanting to change that? And even if they don't give you a reason, you can say no. You can say, actually, I don't want to change that line. And that's absolutely fine. Sometimes they'll say, well, cool, that's fine. I was just checking because X, Y, and Z. To me, when I read it, it sounds funny or it doesn't sound right. And that's just one person's opinion. And yes, editors have worked with a lot of text before. They've worked with poets, but they're not the expert on your work. You are. They are there to help you to serve the work, and you should be there to serve your work obviously too. So it's getting your work to be, if you want it to be the best that it possibly can be, don't be afraid of criticism, don't be afraid of someone saying that you can improve by various things, because at the end of the day you're going to learn and grow from it. So I hope that kind of helps in terms of getting over some of that fear of working with an editor. There are various types of editors, and not everyone's perfect. Obviously, you know, I'm not perfect, but I have a different style to maybe other editors. I'm quite relational in the fact that I like to sit down with the person, get to know them, get to know what they're about and their intentions and their type of work that they're doing, and what their kind of goals are, I guess, and then see if those goals can work with the particular publication, whether it's one that's already established, whether it's a journal, or whether if they're wanting to put together a collection. There are obviously other considerations as well. So we'll talk more about how to put together a collection in another video. So I hope that some of these tips have been helpful today. Other videos on how to edit your poem, we'll put the link in the description, and coming up will be more craft videos. The Friday videos are all about an editor speaks, so listening to someone who has some editing experience, has some poetry experience, and hopefully some of these tips will help you guys to reach your poetry goals. So if you like this and you think other poets would be into it, please feel free to share. Don't forget to subscribe. Friday videos coming up, and we'll see you at the next video. Girlsonkey.com. You guys are awesome. Bye.